Hey guys, we are back at Hangman's Alley, and today we are going to be building a few simple structures to finish off the ground floor here. Now, I'm still getting over a cold, so if my voice sounds a little off, that's why. Now, today's build is going to be pretty heavy on the decoration side, and I'm curious to see what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below, and let's get started, shall we? We're going to start things off with the entryway, and this is going to be the only entrance and exit to Hangman's Alley, and we're going to use these junk fence doorways to just cap off this hallway here. Makes it look a little fortified and it kind of blends in with the surroundings. The key is just to line it up correctly with the existing walls. And that looks pretty good. Now for a little bit of security, we're going to go ahead and add a light connected to a tripwire, just to alert any guards that may be watching of someone entering the premises. So as far as the tripwire goes, I didn't like the small one. I think the larger one kind of fits the area a little bit, but it's still a little too big. So we're going to use place everywhere to just shrink it down a bit and be a little less noticeable. And we're also going to have to power this, and so we're going to use the nice and quiet solar panels. Now to place the setup, and we're going to start with the tripwire here. And we just want to get it close to the door and as low to the ground as we can, just so that it kind of disappears up against the door. And as far as the light goes, we want to go ahead and place the light in the corner so it illuminates most of the hallway and of course, anyone walking through the door. Just get the angle a little bit right there. Now as far as the conduit goes, we're going to shrink it down and then bury it in this junction box. Now, I really like using existing, structures and, props that are in the area. And it really looks like the gunners took this junction box and are using it to power, the tripwire and light. And then we'll just bury the solar panel in the ground so it or the wire can't be seen. And here we go with the test walkthrough. Hit the tripwire, light comes on. Nice. And now we're going to build a guard station, and we're going to use one of these trucks, as I've used in a few other builds. And we're just going to go ahead and place that down, lining it up with the stairs here. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but I want to get it pretty close. That looks pretty good. We're going to create a platform for some seating using one of these shack bridges, and we're going to connect the top of the stairs with the hood of the vehicle here. And we just want to make sure that the shack bridge doesn't clip through the concrete too much, but still makes contact with both the stairs as well as the hood of the truck. Just raise that up a little bit more. Nice. Now that guard is going to need a place to sleep, so we're going to build a small shack here in this little cutout in between the two buildings. And the shack foundation with the built-in supports should work nicely. Also make it look like it's being supported, and we won't have to add too much additional support. Just want to line it up with the wall so it doesn't clip through too much on either side. It is going to clip a little bit with that curved area, or the curved corner there, but I still think it looks pretty good. With the roof and the flooring in place, now we need to add some supports to keep the roof, supported. So we're going to go ahead and use some of these shack columns from the Homemaker mod. And the idea is that we want it so it's making contact with both the floor and the roof, but not clipping through the roof too much. Just a matter of getting the height correct. And we still do want it to clip through the front of the roof, just so, it looks like it's attached. And then we just put one on either side, and we should be good to go. With the main structure complete, we can go ahead and add in some walls. And this is going to be a pretty small structure. You know how I like to build cramped spaces. So we're going to try to leave it a little bit open. And we're going to use one of these junk railings as well as a half wall from the Homemaker mod so that we don't have to have too many walls closing things off. Again, the idea is that we don't want the wood bits clipping too much with the brick wall there, but we do want it to make contact with the roof just so everything looks attached. And I think it's coming along nicely. Of course, we're going to need a way to get up there. And so we're going to build some stairs using these pallets, as I've used a few times before. And this time we're going to use Place Everywhere to shrink the top pallet down a little bit because of the limited space in the truck bed. And we're just going to go ahead and place that down. Now, each pallet is roughly the same height as the vanilla stairs, and so it works out really well using them as a staircase. And to top it off, we're going to use some of the shack stairs just to get us to the top of that truck bed. And since we're using all wood pieces, they all fit together really well. Nice. Now to finish off this walkway, we're going to use one of these shack bridges. It really fits in with the junky look of this structure, and we just snap it into place on the floorboard there, and then we're just going to go ahead and lower it down to match the height of the truck, and we should still be able to use it as a step, even though there's a gap there. Nice. And now to close off the bottom portion, just change up the texture a little bit. There's a lot of columns there, and it started to look a little repetitive. So one of these half walls will just glitch into place nicely and still look junky, so I think it'll fit in real well. With a guard in place, we're going to have to offer them a little bit of extra protection. So we're going to use one of these junk fences here, and we're just going to get it nice and close to the truck just to raise up that wall a little bit and offer them a little bit of protection just in case whoever comes through that door is not friendly. Nice. So Hangman's Alley is a pretty dark place, especially in this corner. You don't get a lot of sunlight down here. So we're going to go ahead and place one of these spotlight turrets in the cab of the truck, which fits in great. Now, as you can see there, the supports for the turret aren't actually making contact everywhere, but that's fine because we're actually going to cover it up with a bunch of sandbags. As you've probably seen in several of my other builds, the technique will be the same. We're going to use some sandbag walls to cover it up, and then we'll use the loose sandbags to just fill in any of the other gaps. Now, I'm not going to show this whole process, but one key thing to remember is that if you're going to use the individual sandbags, you want to turn off object physics, otherwise they fall right through the truck. And the idea here is that you place them in there so they look natural, and you definitely want to vary the angles a little bit, just so it doesn't look too repetitive. I mean, they are all sandbags, and they all do look the same. For this next structure, we're going to go ahead and utilize a technique I used in the Scaver Tower build, and we're going to place one of these makeshift roofs right up against one of the existing buildings here. And the idea is we want it close so it looks attached but not clipping through too much. And I think that looks pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and take a junk wall and place it up against this close end here, just to close off this structure. And we're going to leave one of the sides completely open, just so it has more of a makeshift feel to it, almost like a really large doghouse. And the idea here is we want it to make contact, but we don't want it to clip through the cloth bit there in the front. There we go. Nice. As you can see, there's a gap between the existing wall and the wall we placed down, so we're going to go ahead and fill that in with a junk balcony railing, and then we're going to use a mod called Windows, Roofs, and Floorboards. I believe that's what it's called. I'll link it in a Google Doc in the description. But we're just going to place some of those boards up against the existing wall to fill out that gap, and it really adds to the junky feel of the structure. For the last structure we're going to build here on the ground floor, we're going to go ahead and use the same technique, and this time we're going to use one of the slanted roof boards, and we're just going to put it up against the wall here underneath the windowsill. And again, we want to keep it from clipping through too much, but we still want it to look attached. So we're just going to get it really close. That looks pretty good. This time we're going to use a half wall, just because the structure is so small. And again, the same technique. We're just going to place it in there so it doesn't clip through too much, and it also looks like it's supporting the roof. Nice. Now to close off this back side, we're going to use another half wall, this time from the Homemaker mod, but we're still going to have a little gap there, and so we're going to have to fill that in with little wood bits here and there. Now to fill in this gap, we're going to go ahead and use one of these shack balcony railings here, and we're just going to place it in there, and we want to glitch them together so it looks like it's one piece, or at least that the pieces are attached. So we want to make sure we're pushing it into each other, and you can see there that they kind of meld together, and I think that looks pretty good. Now the final piece of this small shack is going to be a support for the roof here, the part that's up against the wall. And we can use place everywhere to shrink down the size of the shack column and just get it into place. Now you might have to do some adjustment as far as the size goes once you get it in there, just so it looks right. But the main idea is that it doesn't clip through the roof too much. And you can see here I'm just adjusting the height a little bit. Nice. Here we are on the ground floor of Gunner Plaza North. And as we approach, we notice the red door, of course. Red means danger. We're going to enter anyway. Tripwire works perfectly. And you can see there illuminating the hallway, making anyone visible through that doorway. I really like how the wires go into that junction box. Has a real nice look to it. Little preview of the gunners up above. That's coming in the next video. And of course we have a sentry bot here, keeping an eye out on things, just in case you're not welcome. And you can see the guard on duty there, with the spotlight keeping things illuminated. Have a little bit of a junk pile here. We know how much the gunners do like to salvage through technology, and sometimes they bring some of it back here, things to tinker with and pull components out of. I really like the way that looks. I think the sandbags really add something real nice to that spotlight. Well, let's climb up here and check out this first dwelling we have. As you can see, the stairs work pretty well. You can just walk up without any trouble. Now, rounding this corner here, we can see a few supplies. This is a guard housing anyway. So, of course, we have some ammunition and some chems. Some alcohol there, of course. And then a small sleeping area. Semi-protected. Now, walking over this way, we have a little small seating area, just in case a guard gets tired or just wants to sit down for a little bit, but still have a good view of the entrance. Small stash of weapons here in this little cubby. And then you can see from this position, you get a great view of that entrance there. Of course, Sentry Bot also has a good view. And then you can see out into the rest of the ground floor of the alleyway here. Now let's head on down, check out a few more of the areas we have available to us. I really like how junky those shacks look. It really fits in well with the rest of the build. Now coming around this way, we can see a larger seating area, more of a gathering place for any gunners that aren't on duty. Of course, you can see plenty of alcohol and a little bit of food laid out. Of course, there's chems as well. Some cigarettes. You know, it is the apocalypse after all. And up against the wall here in the doorway that's all boarded up, of course, we have some storage, crates and barrels and whatnot. Now, coming along in here, we have a small makeshift, like, general store, I would guess you would say. Have a few things out for sale here. Some chems, some food. Looks like he takes back some empty bottles for the brewmaster upstairs. And of course, got a laser rifle sitting there. Now, walking out this way, we can check out another seating area. This time just across the alley there. Gotta have some entertainment, you know, when you're not out raiding the Commonwealth. Looks like these guys have some food and alcohol set out. Have a little game of checkers going with some bottle caps. I really like that. I believe that comes from Creative Clutter. That's a great mod, by the way, if you guys don't have that. Highly recommended. Another good view of the structures we just built. it all really kind of blends in really well with the existing buildings here in the alley. Now I did change out the wall in that shack just to give it a little more junky feel. And you can see this guy's not doing so well for himself with a small sleeping area and really cramped. Plus he doesn't look too happy. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave me a like. Drop me a comment down below if you have any questions for me about this build or any of my other builds, or if you have any ideas on what I could add to make this place better. Subscribe if you want to see when my next video goes live. We'll be back here at Hangman's Alley working on some of the upper level. I also have a Let's Play series for Fallout 4 VR coming in the next week or so. Really excited to give that a try. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, enjoy your time in the Commonwealth.